Picture this. Late September, and everyone's feed is split between Leo with a rifle and, wait, PTA made an action movie? Friday numbers roll in like a dust storm. $22.4 million in the US, $48.5 million worldwide, and suddenly, Paul Thomas Anderson, patron saint of oddball epics, is sitting on the biggest opening of his career. Twitter's cheering, trades are hedging, and the question hangs in the air, how can a movie be both a victory lap and a financial nail-biter at the same time? Let's tell that story.
Set the Table, One Battle After Another is Anderson's 2025 epic with Leonardo DiCaprio leading a stacked ensemble. Regina Hall, Teyana Taylor, Benicio del Toro, Sean Penn, and breakout Chase Infinity. It hit U.S. theaters on September 26, runs about 162 minutes, and, depending on who you trust, costs somewhere in the $130 to $175 million zone. That's a lot of zeros for an auteur, and it's also Anderson's first film released in IMAX, which tells you how big the canvas is.
Here's the twist that makes it juicy. Audiences flat out loved it. An A from CinemaScore, Anderson's best audience grade yet. Critics were right there with them. The film parked near the top of the year on Metacritic and stayed certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. In other words, the crowd and the tastemakers finally agreed, and that tension between praise and profit became the whole conversation.
Opening weekend tells the tale in plain English. That $22.4 million domestic bow and $48.5 million worldwide headline are huge for PTA. But this isn't a scrappy indie. It's a big swing studio play, which means the mountain of recoup is steeper. The film started strong, finished #1, and then faced the usual test for grown-up movies with a price tag. Can the second and third weekends keep pace while the longer game, home rental and streaming, lines up behind it?
The marketing had personality, and you felt it. Instead of a faceless studio rollout, DiCaprio pushed the big red button himself, launching a fresh YouTube page to debut the trailer like a creator dropping a passion project. That single move reframed the movie as an event. And it fit the footage. Desert chases, pulpy momentum, PTA swagger with popcorn energy.
Runtime matters, and here it's part of the drama, not a problem. At roughly 162 minutes, a multiplex physically can't run as many showings per day as it can for a 2-hour film. That doesn't doom anything, Oppenheimer says high, but it does lower your ceiling unless demand stays spicy or premium formats do some heavy lifting. This one leaned into IMAX and 70mm, which boosted the you gotta see it big vibe and juiced per-ticket averages, even beyond opening weekend.
How did people actually react once they were in the seats? Like they'd just been on a ride. The A exit poll isn't just a letter, it's a word-of-mouth engine, especially when it links arms with rave reviews. The consensus branded this Anderson's most purely entertaining movie in years. Still sharp and thematically chewy, but propulsive in a way that gets normal folks texting, "Just go." That rare crowd plus critic alignment is why the conversation kept buzzing.
Zoom out from opening weekend and the global picture starts to fill in. By late October, the worldwide total hovered around $170 to $171 million, with a surprisingly strong overseas share, healthy for a director who's historically been more domestic-centric. That's a milestone for PTA, even as it triggers the "yeah, but what about the budget" memes. Both things can be true. Career high for the filmmaker, complicated arithmetic for the studio.
The money talk, minus the headache, goes like this. Public reporting pegs production at around $130 million per Warner Bros., while trade site figures up to $175 million once everything is tallied. Add marketing and distribution, and outlets like Variety estimate the theatrical break-even line near the $300 million mark, hence the projection of a sizable theatrical loss. But the modern scoreboard doesn't stop at the ushers.
Premium rental buy and the streaming window are the second and third acts now, which is why studio models can shift as those later windows kick in.
So, why didn't this open at $40–50 million? Because the movie makes a delicious promise without pretending to be four-quadrant candy. The surprise of PTA made a big canvas action adventure pulled in the curious. But the film's jagged humor and satirical spine still mark it as Anderson. Catnip for cinephiles, not a guaranteed yes for every date night in town. The late September slot favored long legs and awards runway over holiday fireworks, and the length capped showtimes a bit. The wild card, again, is that A from the audience, which usually softens second weekend drops and keeps a movie alive through the chatter.
If you're calibrating expectations, line it up with Leo's last two prestige swings. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood legged out to about $392 million worldwide, a sunnier, easier mainstream sell. Killers of the Flower Moon wound up near $156 million worldwide, backed by Apple's deep pockets and a platform strategy built for the long tail. One battle after another sits between them on raw global gross. No tech giant cushion, bigger studio risk, and that's exactly why box office pundits can't stop doing math on it.
The rest of the story feels less like a sprint and more like a relay. Theaters lit the fuse, the home rental moment scoops up all the people who meant to go but couldn't carve out 3 hours. The streaming drop turns it into a shared language for another weekend or two. Award season taps the mic and keeps the title bouncing through headlines. That's how a record-opening, tricky spreadsheet movie becomes a slow-burn win in the end, by stacking moments instead of betting everything on one.
So here's the gist. The movie came in hot, stayed loved, and is built to live longer than a single weekend. Theaters gave it a podium. Home viewing will open the gates for the I'll get to it crowd. Streaming will hand it a second premiere, and award season will stencil it into the year's memory. On the culture scoreboard, it's already there. On the finance one, the relay isn't over, but the baton's moving in the right direction. So it might not be the first flop of Leo yet, but it can very well be. Only time will tell.